Jackie Dean.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, Mr Mallard has been looking for bogeymen under the bed, and I'm afraid he's found a very small and lame bogeyman. And the argument, I'm afraid, is clearly not working in the House as much as he might try. It's worth noting, Mr Speaker, that the government administration worked very cooperatively on this bill, and it was at the 11th hour that Mr Mallard chose to come in and try and look for something to criticise in this bill. There's a couple of points that I want to raise in rebuttal, perhaps, and the first one is the scope of the... Sorry, what did that member say?
The member should have turned up and listened.
So this member should have turned up and listened?
Point of order.
Are you making a point of order?
No, he's asleep.
Oh, okay. Mr Speaker, I'll continue with Mr Mallard has been the one member who has not worked cooperatively on this bill, and I think he's trying to make a point that perhaps a minister might have unfettered powers, which clearly does not exist in this legislation, is clearly only in his imagination, and clearly is not going to fly in this House. I just also want to refer to the issue of cruise ships, which under this legislation will be regarded as floating accommodation. There will be no open access onto these cruise ships as they are docked in Auckland Harbour or indeed other places around New Zealand. And cruise ships will be allowed to serve liquor but not provide gaming. The committee looked at this issue very carefully but was unwilling to go against the spirit of the Gambling Act, and indeed considered the issue of the extension of gaming to be outside the scope of this bill. So, I mean, contrary to what Mr Mallard would have us believe, the committee considered, when he wasn't, when we were having constructive discussion on this bill, considered it to be outside the scope of this bill. And so, Mr Speaker, this is a good bill. This committee has worked proactively about it. And finally, I just want to note that a successful Rugby World Cup is vitally important for New Zealand's global brand and for our economy. Finally, I just want to put in a plug for the North Otago Rugby Union, who have really seized the day with the opportunities that are going to be presented by this Rugby World Cup opportunity, is hosting the World Golden Oldies Rugby Festival during the course of the Rugby World Cup. It's that kind of regional initiative which I hope will be replicated all around New Zealand, which will make this tournament such a success and will be expedited by the very good work contained in this bill. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Chris Hipkins.